Hi, I'm Janice Fogarty, and I'm a communications strategist and consultant. The Connections Coffee Confidence podcast is for professional women entrepreneurs who have established themselves and their business, and they're ready to get serious about using the power of communication to surpass their business goals. On this podcast, I discuss everything from leadership to establishing a business vision to the intricacies of creating messaging, publicity, and more. I speak to women who excel in communications in their business, whatever they do, and get an inside look at how they created a thriving livelihood. So top up your mug and welcome to this week's episode. Hey, and welcome to this episode of Connections, Coffee, and Confidence with me, Janice. This episode is all about clarifying a point that I see holding a lot of people back from making progress with their content. By progress, I mean reaching their goals. And by content, I mean loads of things, from your website copy and images, to your social media posts, to how you introduce yourself to someone that you've just met at a networking function. You probably hear a lot about strategic content, especially from me. And you think, brilliant, I've got that nailed down. Now, I'm sure that you have your paid version of Canva and a scheduling app, so your stuff is popping up exactly when it's supposed to. Maybe your website is a beautiful thing to behold, and your bounce rate, ridiculously low. And your elevator pitch is a thing of mastery. In fact, people drag others over to you for the simple pleasure of being able to introduce you and hear you give your spiel again, right? Gee, I know I'm totally like that. Because you have all of those things in place, doesn't mean that what you've worked so hard on is actually strategic. The fact that those strategies exist in your business doesn't mean they're serving a productive purpose. And actually, those bits and pieces, and yes, some of them are huge pieces, but those bits and pieces are tactics. They're not strategies. So is going on podcasts to talk about your work, having a feature in the local newspaper, hosting an event in your community. All of these are tactics, not strategy. And therein lies some confusion. That's the piece that holds back a lot of progress and wastes time and energy and money. Now, hold on a minute, you might be thinking. You're not confused over what needs to be done. And saying your efforts have been a waste might be a bit strong. Look, I grant you, it is a harsh thing to contemplate. But nothing is ever a complete waste, right? You're either winning or learning, as they say. It's a great thing to learn about the nitty-gritty aspects about doing those tactics. Creating a content schedule, writing a pitch email, writing sales copy. These are all important skills to master. But they come more easily when you base them on strategy. Your strategy is the foundation you build your tactics from. Your strategy is where you decide who your audience is and where they hang out, what they like. Your strategy looks at your goals, looks at the numbers and the time involved in achieving those goals. Your strategy gives birth to your messaging. And your strategy dictates your activities. Your strategy ensures that you don't go off chasing podcast opportunities when your target audience doesn't actually listen to them. That you don't host an event when your target audience either can't afford ticket prices or aren't comfortable being in large groups just yet. Your strategy defines what job your website does for you. Your strategy is the big picture. The tactics are the objects in the picture that not only make it look pretty, but also give the outsider the idea of who you are and what you're about. The tactics tell the story of your big picture. I bet you have goals. They may be written down somewhere or tucked neatly inside of your head, but you probably have an idea of how much money you need to make to cover your bills or how many people you have to have click the Buy Now button on your website. You have a target you're aiming for. And you've been working towards that target. You're not sitting around on your backside checking your email every hour or checking your text to see if you got a Stripe notification. You know you need to do the work to make the money. But what exactly is the work? And that's why I say this confusion between tactics and strategy costs time, money, and energy. None of those tactics, the work that you've been doing, has been completely free. If you haven't outright paid money to have it done for you, then it's cost you in time and potentially lost income from doing those bits and pieces rather than your other work. You know you probably have an incomplete or disjointed strategy if you've been out in your community, if you've been posting every day, even reels, if you've been reviewing and revising your website 3 times in as many months. If you've been inside free Facebook groups asking, oh, what are you doing wrong? Or fishing for new clients with a tinge of fear in the back of your mind. If you're doing any of this and you're not even inching closer to your goal, if you're working your butt off and not seeing the desired results, your strategy needs some tinkering. So what do? I mean, you can't keep going the same way you have been. But it is so hard to do something different, to clear your mind and restructure your business operations. Ugh. And I get it. Like, I'm reworking things at the time of writing myself. It is work that requires time and mind space and feels like an intimidating chunk of gunk to take on. I like to look at it in 4 big chunks of gunk, if you will. The first chunk or the first step that you can take is to make sure your goals are actually written down and that they are indeed relevant goals, that they still make sense. I do periodically run a goal setting session, and if that's something that you need help with, make sure to check my website for the next scheduled one. The second is to look at your audience. Who are they and what do they want from you? The third is to look at your messaging. What do your people need to know, think, feel, or do in order to work with you and for you to reach your goals? What do you need to tell them so that they are confident you are the right choice for them? The fourth is the activity step. And only after you've done those other steps do you get to look at the tactics available to you. Only then will you have a better grasp of what activities will actually help you get your messages out, connect with your audience, reach your targets. Going through those steps first will help you pick through the different options available to you and discard the ones that don't suit your budget and your time frame and your personality and your goals. This is where you define the work. And this time, the tactics, the work, will be strategic. When you've taken that time to create the strategy, you'll be more open to other opportunities or tactics that will help you create success. If you're into the old woo, you'll know that when you've taken the time to define your intentions and the pieces around it, the actual making it happen sometimes just happens. By making the intention clear, ideas will come to you, and you'll be better prepared to see them as opportunities and better prepared to take advantage of them. When working with clients through this process, by the time we've gotten to the activities or the tactics stage, they feel much better about taking these steps or being open to trying new things that beforehand just seemed outlandish when I've suggested them. By working through the strategy aspect first, and getting really clear and comfortable with your intentions, you absolutely feel more confident declaring and planning tactics that seemed so scary before. You're empowered to go after the things that you need to do in order to reach the goals that you've set. When you know what you're saying, who you're saying it to, and why you're saying it, the how to say it is an awful lot easier. Having a clear strategy makes putting your ideas into result-oriented actions a lot easier. So remember, don't start your tactics until you've done the work to define what those tactics need to achieve for you. Your strategy is the real work, the details. Your tactics fill in the gaps created by your strategy. If you want to learn more about creating a communication strategy, get on my waitlist for my course that will walk you through every single step. You'll find it at janicefogarty.com, and I will link to that in the show notes. Or you can just get on my email list and you'll be notified when it comes available. It'll go to my subscribers and my Facebook group members first. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you feel it in your heart to support an independent podcaster such as myself, I'd love you forever if you would like, subscribe, rate, review, or even just share this episode with someone that you think might get an aha from it. Thank you again. And until next week, my friend, I hope you have a fan-freaking-tastic rest of your day. Thanks so much for listening this week. I invite you to sign up for my email list or join me in the Connections Coffee and Confidence community on Facebook. Those are the people who get first dibs on any classes or products I create, and they benefit from the extras I can't get into in a podcast format. I also lovingly request that if you've enjoyed this podcast, you leave a review on Apple. When I see a new review, I get so excited I almost spill my cappuccino froth. Almost. And if you're a woman entrepreneur who's ready to get serious about using the power of communications to grow your business, send me an email at janice@janicefogarty.com. All my details are in the show notes. Thank you again for listening today, and I'll chat with you again next week.